Good morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Colorful Conversation. Happy Wednesday. Welcome on this beautiful Wednesday morning. I hope to have some people live today. I have a good one coming on determining your natural level. So, the reason that I chose this topic for today is one of my members posted in our private member Facebook group showing a result of a color that she did, and she said, where do you think that I went wrong? And the regrowth was much lighter than the mids and ends. It was much warmer than the mids and ends. And she had done the math equation that I share when I teach people how to formulate, which was the right thing to do. But what happened was she overshot what the natural level was, which is her starting point. So I want you to imagine you're going somewhere new and you get in your car and you have the address that you're going to, but you don't have an address of where you're coming from. You know, you're just on some street, some random side street, and you have the address that you want to go to, but you don't know where you're starting from. Or if you're in a foreign country and you have a map and you're looking at the map and you know you need to get on at a certain stop on public transportation, but you don't know where you are on the map. I know my husband has handed me the map sometimes and said, "Here, help me with this." And I'm like, "But where are we? Where's the starting point?" Right? So I think that with hair color, we tend to get into this comfort zone of, oh, I kind of know where I'm starting, or not even realizing you need to know where you're starting from. I think that is maybe more of what I see more often is people not knowing they need to know where they're starting from. So with formulation, if you over or undershoot that natural level, where is their natural level lying of what, the hair color that they were born with that hasn't been colored. A lot of people tend to see it deeper than it really is or lighter than it really is. So in this case, this member had said, I think that she's a 2. And so I used a level 10. So it made sense if the person really was a 2 to use such a high level to get her lifted. But here's the issue. When you're lifting more than 2 levels, you're always going to get into some trouble with unwanted warmth. So that's number 1. Number 2 is because color doesn't lift color, the color that's previously been tinted, from here all the way to her ends, is going to remain the color that it started out the process being. It's not going to change because artificial color cannot lift artificial color lighter. So I want you to write that down if you didn't realize that, because that was one of my first lessons as a colorist that I didn't know that ran me into a lot of trouble with someone's hair that I did, because I was like, why didn't the middle and the ends get the same color as the roots? I just couldn't understand that. So that, all that being said, because she said that the client was a 2, she formulated for her being a 2. When I looked at the photo, and again, it's hard to tell by a photo, but when I looked at the photo, I said, I don't think she's a 2. I think she's more like a 4. So in any math equation, 10 plus 2 divided by 2 is always going to be different than 10 plus 4 divided by 2. So it sounds like such a simple thing, like, oh, I said she's a 2, but she's really a 4. What's the big deal? The big deal is that 10 plus 4 divided by 2 is what? 10 plus 4 divided by 2. You come to what number? And I know there's a little bit of a delay, so play with me today. I want you to weigh in on what that looks like. Waiting. I'm not giving the answers away. Not because I'm being cute. It's because I hate math. No, I'm kidding. I know the answer. Thank you, Julie, for playing. So you're going to reach a 7. So when you think that you're reaching a 5 or a 6, but you really reach a 7, you're reaching a completely different level on your level finder of where you're going to land in hair color. So I only have 40,000 of these level finders, but don't have one here. Hold on. I might have one in my side thing here. Let's see. Bring it up on here. Here we go. So look at the difference between 5, 6, and 7 on that level finder and look at it against the hair. When you look at the middle of that strand, the middle of that strand is one shade, the top of the strand is another shade, and the bottom of the strand is another shade. So that we also deal with that, right? We deal with all different colors. Artificial color can be difficult to look at on a level finder because it has tonality that may be different from the tonality that the level lands at. What does that mean? So, a natural level 7 is going to look a lot different than an artificially colored level 7. So, something that I like to do that has helped me a lot in determining my natural level is to turn the photo into black and white because it's so much clearer what level everything is when everything has no color. You can see the depth of level from 1 to 10 versus the tonality that can throw you off. So that's a fun trick. And then you might think, well, how do I do that? If you don't know how, it can seem complicated, but it's super simple. So I have a little quick video, but I also want to show you on how to do it. So I use an iPhone. I don't have an Android, but I know you can do this on both phones. So unless you have, and you probably can do it on a BlackBerry. I don't even know if anybody still has a BlackBerry, but if you don't have an Android or an iPhone, I would Google, how do you turn an image black and white? But on the iPhone, it's very simple. So edit. Okay, that's good. It doesn't have to be completely black and white when you change it. You just want to reduce the saturation of color. So when you go through those things in your phone, you're going to click on edit and you're going to slide it over and you'll see the color desaturating the entire time you're scrolling. You just want it to be less color. It doesn't have to be completely black and white because then you can kind of get lost there where it's like so monochromatic that you really can't see the difference. But I found that to be super helpful in finding the level. I also find it helpful to put it in the back of your client's head and part their hair and kind of push up. Do I have a doll head here now? Kind of push up the hair and place the level finder in where there's light going through. Anybody who you smash their hair's always dirty when they come to see us, right? Lucky us. They always come with greasy, dirty hair. And everything's going to look 1 or 2 levels deeper than it really is if it's dirty and oily and greasy. And if it's flat against the head, it's going to look 2 levels deeper than it really is. When there's light passing through it and you really lift it up, you're like, oh, wow, she's really actually a 6. I thought she was a 4. And again, math. 8 plus, 8 plus 4 is one thing, 8 plus 6 is another. So having that tool, that level finder, let me grab one. I'm sure you guys have seen it a million times when I share it on here. It took me a really long time to get this created and in my hand, all kinds of back and forth with proofing and the color not being quite right and all of the things. But now that it's here, I'm getting so much amazing feedback from people saying, oh my gosh, where has this been my whole life? Because you can see and understand remaining pigment contribution. This is what comes out in the hair when you're lightening hair. So when someone says to me, she just wants to be 1 level lighter and super cool. And I say, I want to wear a bikini to the beach today and have 6-pack abs, but it's not going to happen. And no matter how much money I have or want to pay for it, I'm not going to have 6-pack abs. I have to work at it and do the work. So same thing with this, the hair is only going to do so much. And when you're taking somebody more than 2 levels, you're going to get warmth. I mean, all you have to do is look at this and say, okay, what's going to happen if I go to, if I take her to from a 4 to a 5, very warm and deeper orange, a 5 to a 6, brighter orange, a 6 to a 7, like a papaya orange, 7 to 8, still warm. The only place you don't get into any trouble is at 9 and 10. And by then, there's rarely any pigment left in the hair at all. And you're lucky if it even holds a tone because everything's been pulled out of it. So you have your black, I hate to say black, but your levels 1 and 2 that aren't going to show a lot of warmth. And you have your 9 and 10, but everywhere in between, every single level in between is going to be warm. I have people write to me and they'll say, I'm terrified to use blue or green hair color. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did you find green hair color? Send me a couple cases of it because we need more green in our hair color. We're not given enough green in our hair color because human error. Hair color companies don't trust us to use our judgment and use it properly. And they're afraid that we're going to turn people green because we don't really understand what we're using. But if we're lightening hair from dark to lighter, and you're going to be landing in that red zone, you truly do need green. So a lot of times I find myself creating a green at a level that I don't have it provided to me from my manufacturer. And now you may be saying, well, how the heck do you do that? Somebody's going to be on here. I know Julie's on here. Someone's going to be on here that's a member that's going to know the answer like that. Other people are going to be like, wait, what? So how do you think you could create green if your manufacturer doesn't provide it? Say you're doing something and you need a level 6 green and you're like, I have a blue violet, I have a blue, I have, I don't even know what other combinations, but you just don't have green. I can't tell you how many people have written to me and said, I just don't have a green. And I'm like, well, make it. So both people who answered are members of the Insiders. So proud mentor moment. My girls, they understand and they know it. So yellow and blue. So you take a yellow shade and a blue shade at the same level, mix equal parts, and now you have your green that you need it. So do not be afraid of green. You should be so lucky that it's so green that it's going to turn the hair green because most times it's not. And remember, hair color has different levels of saturation depending on the level of lightness and darkness. So the pigment at a level 1 is going to be much heavier than the pigment at a level 10. Level 10, that tube or bottle of color is doing all the work of the lifting. So it has more lightening ability than depositing ability. So when we try to cover gray 100% with a level 10, which was another question I had yesterday, why is it not covering? It's not meant to. Level 10 is meant to lift what's natural in there to become lighter. It's not meant to deepen and deposit enough to cover gray. That's not what a level 10 was created for. So these are the things you have to understand. Stop trying to make hair color do the impossible. You are going to only end up frustrated. Your client is going to end up frustrated because you promised her the world and now you're under delivering because you didn't really understand what your limitations were. So respect the product, respect the chemistry of the product, and really understand what it is you're trying to do. So people will say to me, well, what do you do if they want to be super blonde and have their gray covered? And I say, that's when I will say to my client, what matters more to you? Would you rather have 100%, not a single gray in sight coverage, like solid coverage, and be a little deeper of a blonde? Or would you rather be Pam Anderson, super pale blonde, and you don't care if your silver is mixed in there because the silver could be seen as platinum at that point. So it's having that conversation and that give and take with your client where you're not saying no, you're saying realistically, this is how hair color works. And don't get it twisted. I don't want you going into a hair color lesson because people take it too far and they're sharing too much with their clients. They're telling them exactly how color works and they're getting into ammonia and alkalinity and pH. No. When is the last time your doctor explained to you the pH of one of your body parts when they were doing a test on you? It's never going to happen because they consider themselves the expert and the authority, and they don't really care if you understand the why behind what they're doing. Why, as a hairstylist, do we always feel like we have to over inform our guests and make them part of things every step of the way? Right before I jumped on here, I'm on Facebook and I see a woman saying, do you think that high lift will get my client light enough? She doesn't want bleach. My God, if I had a $5 bill for every time I read that on social, I'm like, I've been doing color for 35 years. I have never had a client tell me what I can and cannot use on their hair. It's never happened. My nieces are here visiting right now. We were talking about their hair. They normally go to our salon, to Jess, who I talk about all the time on here, who took my place behind the chair. And they couldn't get in with her. She was sick and they went to somebody else. And they said, it's funny. We sat in this girl's chair and we didn't even think about telling her what we wanted. We just assumed she knew what to do because that's how we are when we're in Jess's chair. So I teach my colorists how to show that confidence where the client doesn't even have to open their mouth and the colorist knows what to do. Yes, we bring them into what's going to happen. We do not ask for permission. Hi, Jill. Is it okay to use bleach on your hair today? Because I'm thinking you're really dark naturally. So I'm going to need a Persulfate lightener to break through all that residual warmth. It's called RPC. It's remaining pigment contribution, and it's really a lot of orange. If you said any of those things to a client, she would be bolting out of your chair, saying she forgot something in her car and leaving the building and never coming back. If they ever really understood how powerful the chemicals that we work with, they would not even want to be getting their hair done. If they really understood that we are destroying pheomelanin and pigment in their hair and it's never coming back. Like it's too much. They don't need to know the how. They need to know that you have the confidence and skill to deliver them to where they want to go. That's all they need to know. So have the confidence, have, the ability to have a conversation with them to make them feel comfortable, make them feel loved, make them feel like you've got it covered. Not in a way of like none of your, you don't have to be cocky, like I'm the professional, I know what I'm doing. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. It's saying, I hear you asking for this. That's awesome. I think that's a great idea. I think with your eye color and your skin color, that would be a great option. Do you want a bolder, section in the front? Do you want to have like a more obvious money piece? Like those are the conversations you want to have, not, do you mind if I use bleach on you or do you prefer high lift color? Stop it. That's not okay. It's not necessary. It's not okay. You're setting yourself up to create a Karen. We complain when we get a Karen in our chair. Karen didn't happen overnight. Karen's been stalking TikToks, Reels, all of the things, getting way too much information from hairstylists that are teaching on social media platforms. They're teaching, trying to reach other hairdressers so that they can become an educator. They're not realizing that their followers are their clients. So now we're over educating the clients, and now the clients they're becoming like, total color clientzillas is the only word I can think of, where they're over informed and they know just enough to be dangerous and annoying. Because like what I saw on TikTok, this one did this in one step. Well, they see the Jack Martin makeover and they see the before and the after. Not a single consumer has sat there and watched a gray transformation, an 8-hour gray transformation. It's like when you watched, I'm showing my age, but back in the day, Phil Donahue would have a woman on who just had a tummy tuck and she looks amazing. And then he would show a video and he would preface it with, if you get easily nauseous or dizzy or whatever, make sure you seat it down, turn your head if you get nauseous with blood. And he shows them literally squeezing this woman's skin down and filleting her like a fish that just got caught on the side of a boat. And I was like, whoa, oh my God. Like I loved the after. I loved the result, but I'm like, once I saw the how, I was like, oh my God, I will leave my little flabby belly alone. So don't do that. Don't over inform and tell the client, if you said, we're going to be, removing all the pheomelanin that God gave you in your hair, we're going to be stripping it away and bringing you to the palest yellow blonde, where you're going to lack moisture and integrity in your hair. It's going to become completely fragile, where you can't swim, you can't go under in chlorine, and you can't be in salt water and not shampoo your hair, and you have to put protein back in it. If you had that conversation, there would be so many less blondes on the planet. So understand where you're starting, understand what that means to where you're going, and understand how to get there. If you're struggling with the results in your color, the top 3 things that are going wrong are improper formulation. Numero uno is the problem. You're not properly formulating. The second problem is lazy application. I'm very passionate about that one because I see it all day, every day. It didn't cover. I need to change my color line. No, you need to take your damn time. Stop swiping the color on where you're wiping it off as you're putting it on. Stop taking sections the size of a Jolly Rancher in between pieces. It has to be thin and see-through. You should be able to read a newspaper through your section when you're applying a retouch. Thin sections, and you want to cross-check your work. If you're applying vertically, which I highly recommend, after you've gone through the whole entire head, you want to go back horizontally and go back through. I guarantee you missed at least 3 sections of that hair that didn't get fully saturated. So improper formulation, lazy application. What do you think the third thing is out of the top 3? You either formulated improperly, you applied it lazy and sloppy, and you didn't put enough product on because you're trying to save money. I get it. Color is expensive. What do you think the third thing is out of the top 3 things that could possibly be going wrong? And it's something that people don't even realize is a thing. And it's such a simple fix, especially where gray coverage is concerned or lightening is concerned. Yes, I don't know who answered. It just says Facebook user because I'm on StreamYard, but it says not on long enough. And Michael, I did get your email. I apologize. I didn't get back to you yesterday. I have company, but I will be getting back to you. We can't not have you in the membership. I miss you already. Hi, Nat. Good to see you. So yes, timing. So manufacturers say, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the manufacturer says, they are trying to be competitive with other colors. I've seen this because I've switched colors so many times in my 35 years. So they're like, if we say 25 minutes, somebody's going to pick us because hairdressers are like, chop, chop. They want to get to the next client. So if they're like, oh, ours is 25 minutes, you can be done in 25. Of course, you're going to pick that because you want to be efficient. But 25 minutes sometimes is not enough. When you understand how color works, you know that it's depositing, lifting, depositing, lifting, depositing, lifting. So if you cut it short, you either cut short some of the deposit or you cut short some of the lift, depending on where you cut it off. So stop doing that. Explain to the client when they're getting antsy and they're looking at their watch, you say to them, do you want your color to last a full 5 or 6 weeks in between services? Do you want your gray to be completely covered and look amazing? You have to sit still for another 5 minutes. So most times the minimum that I would do on a gray coverage is 35 minutes. The maximum was 45 minutes. So after 45 minutes, you're not really getting anything more. 45 minutes, you're exhausting it all. But 45 minutes sometimes is necessary. So rather than go to your additives and your double ends and all of these things to try to get that, better coverage, just leave it on longer. Sometimes that's the answer, is just leaving it on longer, especially with your double processed blondes. People say, well, I left it on for, 30 minutes and and it's like canary yellow. I'm like, next time, leave it on 75 minutes. As long as it's moist, it's going to keep lifting, especially if you're doing it with a lower volume developer. And that's a whole other class of, low and slow is going to last longer than high volume is going to burn out. So you guys got a lot on this coffee chat today. A lot of good information, and there's always more where that came from. I hope that you'll follow the podcast, Ask the Color Expert. It's on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Please take the time to leave a review. It really does a lot for us podcasters to be seen and noticed on the platforms. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. So take the time to review that. And as always, I will be here on our coffee chat Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. And I do have some exciting things coming up, including an in-person event. So save the dates, the weekend of October 15th. If you're interested, please save that date. More info will be coming soon. And everyone have a great, amazing rest of your week. And I will see you next week.